This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
There are people that would rather black Americans pick cotton than pick the president.
Fairness rather than race.
If you have to create a shared podium for the boy competing in the girls' event, you've already admitted you know he isn't a girl.
Machines can assist, but they cannot replace us. Don't let the robots win.
Well, I was just hanging out with the cat.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. 89 to 59, our top story. Weather whiplash is on the way, but not today. Right now it is 93 degrees in Ithaca, topping a record from 120 years ago of 89, set back in 1906.
Definitely finding a shady spot and a blanket, and once the splash pads turn on, we'll probably be here during the evening hours.
We're dying every time we play soccer. I get so tired because it's so hot.
Don't get too warm. The high is under 60 for Wednesday. Kevin has your full forecast coming up in a few minutes. President Trump will huddle with his top advisors in the Situation Room tomorrow as the clock ticks down on a peace deal with Iran. They're discussing the next steps to bring an end to the conflict. Military action is on the table. General Jack Keane spoke with Fox News.
They want to run this clock out, increase the political, economic pressure on the president, and they just don't care about the suffering of people.
Fox's Trey Yingst continues our coverage.
Diplomatic efforts are playing out. Iran reportedly sent a revised proposal to Pakistani mediators aimed at addressing some of the gaps in their previous response that President Trump called a piece of garbage.
In Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky is out with a new warning that Russia is planning to attack a NATO country or Ukraine from Belarus. Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb says it may require U.S. intervention, but it should not require American soldiers in Ukraine.
Put boots on the ground is what we can do. We should not be going in there with boots on the ground, though. We have air power for a reason. Use it to the best we can, and we'll see how the results turn out.
He says if there's no resolution, the U.S. needs to exit that war.
It may be time to say, okay, let's redirect ourselves onto different priorities and see what happens here.
Luigi Mangioni's defense team struck out in a courtroom today. A judge tossed some evidence but okayed the murder weapon and a notebook, saying those are both admissible at trial in the state case. Law professor Jonathan Turley says Mangioni faces an uphill battle.
There's not a lot of give at the elbows for the defense here. The fact that the gun came in, the fact that they have the videotape, the fact that the jury can look at it doesn't leave a whole lot for the defense.
Mangioni is accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. He was captured at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Federal officials say they have thwarted a global terror plot that included killing Jewish Americans inside the United States. Last week, an Iran-backed militia commander appeared in a New York City courtroom on 6 terror-related counts. He's accused of planning at least 20 terror attacks in retaliation for the Iran war. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche.
This was a remarkable effort by our FBI, Director Patel, and our international partners. We were able to intercept and get in the middle of this man's attempts to wreak havoc and terrorize not only the United States, Canada, Europe.
Now to politics. Democrats are outraged as new redistricting maps erupt across the southern U.S.
MAGA is the last dying breath of the Confederacy.
There are people that would rather black Americans pick cotton than pick the president.
If Republicans decide that they want to cut black people out, this is a national issue.
South Carolina ramping up efforts to unseat Congressman Jim Clyburn after 30 years in office. Kat Cammack is a Republican congresswoman from Florida. She says not every issue is about race.
We're sick and tired of the check the box. We are all Americans. And quite frankly, the gerrymandering that the Democrats have done for the better part of a half a century, it comes to an end today. Kudos to the White House and to every state that is undertaking a right approach in redistricting for fairness rather than race.
There are growing concerns about a deadly Ebola outbreak in Congo and Uganda. Half a dozen Americans are believed to have been exposed to the rare strain. It's prompted the World Health Organization to declare a global health emergency. CBS News medical correspondent Dr. Celine Gounder.
We know there are at least 6 who are being monitored as contacts. 3 of them are considered high-risk contacts, so significant exposure. And one of those contacts has already developed symptoms. We don't know yet where they will be evacuated to for medical care. Some of the sites with experience in the United States include Bellevue Hospital here in New York City, Emory in Atlanta.
There have been 250 cases in Congo and Uganda and 65 deaths. A California track and girls field meet has once again become the subject of national controversy. Over the weekend, a boy identifying as a girl easily won against all the female competitors. Some California competitions allow the girl that came in second against the trans athlete to stand on the podium next to him like they both won first place.
If you have to create a shared podium for the boy competing in the girls' event, then you've already admitted that you know he isn't a girl. Think about it. You're admitting that you know his participation isn't fair.
Girls sports advocate Riley Gaines.
At this point, I believe they're just seeking a public humiliation ritual for the girls. These are, again, 14, 15, 16-year-old girls. You are minimizing their accomplishments.
21 states and Washington, D.C. do not have a ban on trans athletes competing in sports consistent with their gender at birth. And lost pages of ghost text have been recovered from one of the world's most important New Testament manuscripts. A university team used multispectral imaging to reveal 42 pages of text from Codex H, a 6th century document. Researchers say it was not new text, but the manuscript had been re-inked, leaving a faint mirror image trace of the original words from the letters of Paul. Ghost text isn't visible to the human eye. The exciting part of the discovery is that they did find ancient chapter lists which differ drastically from how we divide Paul's letters today. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, it is time for a vote in both New York and Pennsylvania. The Sabres are on deck and the school principal that unretired. We'll tell you why after Kevin Williams breaks down the steamy forecast.
Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Tonight, partly cloudy and balmy. Can't rule out an isolated thunderstorm or shower across western or central New York. Low temp 60s to around 70. It'll be hot again tomorrow. Some humidity as well. Partly sunny. Chance for an afternoon thunderstorm. 90 or 90. A couple of showers and thunderstorms in the area tomorrow night into Wednesday. Much cooler Wednesday for some. Highs in the 60s near Lake Ontario. Closer to 80 across central and eastern Pennsylvania Wednesday afternoon.
Thank you, Kevin. Check in the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. New York and PA, head to the ballot box. Tomorrow it is primary day in Pennsylvania, where voters will nominate candidates for the general election in November. The primary races for governor are set, with Josh Shapiro and Treasurer Stacey Garrity running unopposed. There is a competitive primary, though, for lieutenant governor on the Republican side. In New York, voters will elect candidates for school boards and decide their local school budgets. Our own Bob Price talks with Dr. Ralph Kerr about that in a few minutes. The Sabres and Canadiens go at it again tonight. The winner advances to the Eastern Conference Finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. A preview from Family Life's Dee Haley.
After Saturday night's 8-3 win over the Canadiens in Montreal, the Sabres are set to host Game 7 tonight at 7:30 at KeyBank Center. Ticket prices for the Stanley Cup playoffs have been soaring since the Buffalo Sabres qualified for the playoffs for the first time since 2011. The most expensive tickets top out at $1,200 as of last night. Dee Haley, Family Life News.
A business was destroyed and more than a dozen people left homeless after a big fire in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania last night. It broke out inside a 200-foot-long garage on West 1st Street, and this witness tells WNEP it spread fast from there.
Once we seen the garage fire, it started spread into another house, so we came down and checked it out, and it just got worse and worse and worse.
The flames eventually spread to a 2-story apartment building next door. Everyone got out safely, but Bloomsburg Fire Chief Scott McBride says it was one of the most complex fires they've had to fight in some time.
We had smoke on all 4 sides. It was issuing out of the garage doors, out of the man doors, out of the brick. It was coming through the cinder block. So it was pushing very, very hard. A lot of smoke.
More than a dozen dozen tanker trucks were used to ferry water to the fire. At one point, they had to draw water from the Susquehanna River to fight the flames. The Red Cross is assisting those displaced. A suburb in New York's Capital District is a test case in AI-powered surveillance. Family Life's Mark Webster explains.
Yeah, Troy, New York, near Albany, is immersed in a battle over flock safety cameras, which police like for their ability to read license plates and track down criminals. Others, though, are concerned about an invasion of privacy and possible use by other agencies, including ICE. It's led to a big fight between Republican Mayor Carmela Mantello and the all-Democrat City Council over signing up for 2 more years of flock surveillance. Democrats don't want it, while the mayor has signed an emergency order to keep the cameras in place for now, saying to do otherwise would jeopardize safety. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
And Elmira College celebrated its 168th commencement Sunday in New York's Southern Tier. More than 150 degrees were handed out at that private liberal arts school. The ceremony was extra special for outgoing EC president Charles Lindsay, who's retiring after 8 years on the job.
It's been a privilege because it's a community. It's a very strong sense of community here. And that's not just the campus community. That's the larger Elmira area.
Meanwhile, Corning Community College awarded 250 diplomas at its 67th commencement exercises. And at Colgate University in Hamilton, New York, graduates got to hear from the head of Apple Music, Ola Oberman, over the weekend. He talked at length about the dangers of AI.
Class of 2026, we are counting on you. Machines can assist, but they cannot replace us. Congratulations, and don't let the robots win.
Alfred University, Nazareth University, and Mansfield University also handed out degrees. On deck next, Dr. Ralph Kerr with the Teaching and Learning Institute. He's breaking down school budgets with our own Bob Price. Let's listen in.
Ralph, what should the voters of New York know before they go to the polls on Tuesday?
Well, there's lots to know. First, where do I vote? And then are they going to vote yes or no on the budget? Then they're going to look at the candidates for school board. And then on some ballots, there may be other propositions like purchasing some buses. So this is a case where people need to be educated, get that information that they need, and then go vote tomorrow.
You got it. Glad you brought up the referendums because a lot of times those are on the other side of the ballot. And a lot of times folks forget to fill in those referendums that are very important as well. The state budget is still in limbo. They've passed 12 budget extenders so far. So how is this complicating these local school spending plans?
Well, it's made it very, very difficult because in some districts, as much as 75 to 90% of their revenue come from the state. And if you don't know what that percentage or the actual dollars are going to be, it really makes it difficult. So districts have done the best they can given what they know, which is not much, because the money issue is what's so important. Yeah. Let me just say one big shame on the legislature and the governor for not getting this done. And I applaud the superintendents and the boards that have done the best they can in terms of the budget.
Most districts, of course, will pass their budgets tomorrow on Tuesday, but some will not. Are you noticing in recent years more no votes or yes votes on school budget day?
No, definitely an increase in no votes. Not enough in many cases to defeat the budget, but certainly in terms of total number, a lot more no's than there used to be. And I think part of it is that people are just very frustrated with the increase that they have in taxes and the costs that they have. And obviously, you can't vote on the federal budget. You don't get to vote on the state budget. So when it comes to schools, it's like we're going to show these people and we're going to vote on their budget.
You can hear the entire interview with Dr. Ralph Kerr on issues in education and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and at familylife.org.
What if your financial gain came at someone else's expense? Hi, I'm Rob West, and this is a Faith and Finance Minute. In Nehemiah 5, while rebuilding Jerusalem's wall, some wealthy nobles were charging high interest to their own people, forcing families to mortgage their fields just to survive. When Nehemiah heard this, he became very angry and demanded that it stop immediately. Why? Because God's people aren't called to profit from one another's hardship. This passage reminds us that faithful stewardship is never just personal, it's communal. So we have to ask, are we building wealth in ways that lift others up or weigh them down? God's design for money isn't exploitation, it's restoration. Because in God's economy, success isn't measured by what we gain, but by how we love our neighbor along the way. Get biblical answers to your financial questions in the Faith-Fi community. Download Faith-Fi, Faith and Finance in your app store or visit faithfi.com.
Finally, at 5, humility at its best. 58-year-old David White retired last year after a 33-year career in the Atlanta schools. But the man who was once named Atlanta's Principal of the Year found life after school a bit unfulfilling, telling CBS,
I thought it would be blissful and easy and joyful.
It's not?
It wasn't quite. Well, I was just hanging out with the cat, and it was a little lonely, honestly.
So he went back to his old school, not as principal, but as site manager, with duties ranging from cleaning bathrooms to landscaping. He says every job is important, no matter how small.
One of the bottom rungs, right? If you look at it in a hierarchical way.
Why doesn't that bother you?
It doesn't bother me at all.
Why not?
I still feel like I'm contributing meaningfully to a place I really care about.
White first had to be interviewed by the new principal, who says she found him more than qualified. He was the principal that left his heart at school. And that's the world that we live in for Monday, the 18th of May. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.